we always say it's kind of one of the most sustainable things you can do is just create great, lasting, timeless architecture, because ultimately there's embodied energy in building materials in anything you do. So make sure it's good.
Hi. Hello.
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 Hello, and welcome to Architecting.
1, 2, testing. 1, 2.
Let's just start.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Wagner here with the host of Architecting, Adam Wagner. Hey, Adam, who's on the podcast today?
Hey, so today we have a couple of architects. We have architects that are a couple, another married couple who have a firm together. They found each other at CU Boulder. Then they went off to Australia and New York, and then came back to Aspen and founded a firm.
Is it Rowland+Broughton?
No, I think it's pronounced Rowland+Broughton.
Oh, Rowland+Broughton.
Mm-hmm. No, but these guys are great. Sarah and John. They're just a lot of fun, especially Sarah. She's really amped up, and I can't like say a favorite. No. This couple to me is pretty impressive as an architect couple owning a firm together, where they put out high design, but then also seem like they are good business people as well.
Are those two mutually exclusive?
Sometimes. I mean, I feel like, the firm is like 40 people large, and they were just very open and available with information. Like, they put a big emphasis on sharing and just sharing information and sharing their experiences. And in the bonus, we get into more talking about kind of business and running a firm, and they just seem like they have fun doing it, and they live and breathe design.
Cool. I'm excited to listen.
In the beginning of the show, they're asking me about a architecting happy hour that they weren't able to attend, and then getting into talking about the AIA design conference that we had just listened to that week. So this was a few weeks ago.
Okay.
Solid background information. And I had some technical difficulties with this, some weird echoes and things, and so this was actually recorded before the Harry Teague interview, and we talk a little bit about him. But if you're like a really hardcore listener and you hear the podcast out of order, that's why. Don't roll your eyes.
You can't see me rolling my eyes right now.
There's people who dive pretty deep into this podcast. Anyway, enjoy.
Many of our listeners are familiar with Herman Miller, a 100-plus-year-old company known for its rich legacy in modern designs, ergonomics, and thought leadership. For Colorado, Workplace Resource is the certified platinum dealership representing Herman Miller, and we are proud to support the Colorado design community. Whether you are in the market for a functional and stylish home office setup or exploring a broader solution to outfit your entire workplace, we are the partner you can trust. The local teams with Herman Miller and Workplace Resource can connect you with research and insights, create a high-performing work environment, especially in this current shift with the way we work. We encourage you to explore our Future of Work Hub for more information, and the link is in the bio. Conceptual thought starters. Not sure what type of solution works best? Browse our planning ideas to start the conversation. You can download Revit files and full tools to really help dial in your solution for your floor plan. And lastly, full project design, specification, and installation for small businesses to full campuses. Workplace Resource is really the place to begin. Be sure to connect with our team. We look forward to supporting our design partners in the Colorado community. And in the meantime, please enjoy architecting.
Hey, we're happy to be sponsored by Modern in Denver magazine. For over a decade, they've been crafting fantastically curated content on Colorado designers and projects, spreading the gospel of good design within our region.
And I love how the goal of Modern in Denver aligns with the goal of this podcast, to better build up and connect the community of Colorado designers. So go buy a copy of the magazine at your local bookstand, subscribe to their weekly email list, and follow them on Instagram.
Check it out.
So where are you guys at today? Are you Denver
We're in Aspen.
or Aspen? Nice.
Do I have anything in my teeth?
No. That's what's good about a podcast, right?
How was your event last night?
It was pretty good. I'd say we probably had 20 to 30 people show up. I feel like it was all the guys. There's just about 2 women there, and that's it. But
have you been listening to any of the AIA conference?
Yeah, I listened to pretty much all of it. I think I saw you guys on some of those.
Yeah, it got better, as it kept going, and both John and I, we because it's all remote, we didn't know we both like what we had been listening to and not, and so we had a friend over for dinner last night, and we were commenting how great Trey was from New Orleans, just really amazing.
He could have been the whole conference.
Yeah, he's really interesting. I mean, their work is so good. He's such like a Louisiana guy, right? But has a pretty far reach. And yeah, I'd never heard him speak before.
Just very gentlemanly.
Yeah.
I just loved the questions about beauty and elegance and empathy. It just really struck a chord with me.
Yeah.
And being nice.
Mm-hmm.
This profession is sometimes not nice on a lot of ends.
What do you think about that? Has that always been a sort of thing that people talk about, or is it just so much more now?
I don't think people talk about it, but I think it's interesting. I just submitted for my FA at my fellowship this week. And nice. Part of my summary statement is really about sharing knowledge. And part of the feedback I got from colleagues really all over the country was, that I share a ton of knowledge, and it's just, I'm very open in a profession that historically is not open. And I think that that's one thing that was really successful about a virtual conference. I think the panels were almost more successful because you could really just listen and not have questions from the audience, and you know what I mean, and kind of be really up close and personal. Mm-hmm. And I think we need to share, and it's really interesting. Even I'm finding within our team, we're finding that we're doing a ton of professional development, coaching with our team. And part of that is around sharing and different ways that you share. But I think our education, and you would know better than us because you're in the education space, but so much of it is group projects, right?
And sometimes sharing comes spontaneous, just in the moment, in the studio.
Yeah.
But I think sharing and not having a fear of failure almost go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. And being okay with not being perceived as perfect. You know what I mean? Because there's a vulnerability to sharing that I think is really critical if you're going to really open up.
Yeah. And it does seem like culturally there's more of a backlash now against those people who would attack you, towards openness and towards mental health. And it's interesting kind of what it's doing to the discussions around like studio crits and things, right? About how you present feedback and sort of what students can almost take in a way, or why we do these things that we've done so long. But
it is very interesting. And even, us having our careers for 25 years, like we've seen a big transformation, as I'm sure every generation has. And we're not the same leaders we were a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And we're constantly evolving around a lot of these topics and this relevancy. And it's all about, not because we have to, because we want to, it's like, how do we get the best out of everybody? And so you have to approach people, in order to get the best out of them. And a lot of what like we're coaching with our emerging leaders is you can't approach everyone the same way. So it's really, and it takes more time, but you really have to understand, and you have to do it quickly, how to really get to someone that's going to be the most impactful and meaningful, that's going to get the best back, and have them not either get, in a corner or, so that they feel like they can grow and that they have agency. And so that's something that we talk about all the time, where it's really rewarding to us, the best thing to us, it's when people have those aha moments when they're practicing and they've done it for a few years, and all of a sudden you can just see it in them, the light bulbs going off. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is why we do this, or this is what you've been saying or coaching us on. And that is just the best when that happens. It's really rewarding. And it's for them, it's like worthy of celebration.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're saying we're not the same leaders we were a year ago or 2 years ago. And it's interesting, again, like the conference of how we're kind of closer in some ways when we're remote, right? But then that idea of how you're coaching your staff, I mean, it's probably changed a ton, right? Of how you mentor remotely or...
Totally. That was some of my questions to Dana in her breakout from SHOP. I was just so curious with 150 people, and they seem so hands-on, and we are also in our studio. And so how do you collaborate and, more importantly, mentor? And it's interesting, like, we just spent 3 weeks in Italy, which was just amazing. And we went to Design Week in Milan. We toured around, and it's already completely impacted our projects. We typically are traveling quite a bit and haven't been for the last 2 years. And so to be able to do that and just have that fusion, right, that just like huge fusion of energy and of inspiration, it's been really awesome coming into our projects. And so we're in a 2-story building here in Aspen, and we just have everyone, because we have probably 5 people that are in here every day right now. So we have everyone moving upstairs to be right near us, so that they can be, we can all be hearing each other and just like be flowing. And because I remember a lot of my education as an emerging professional was just sitting around other peers and hearing them on the phone and hearing how they were interacting with consultants and clients, and it's really important.
Yeah, and that's been so hard with the remote thing. Like you're saying, you miss out on the spontaneous interactions, or miss out on the Italian chocolate that's brought back, or
right,
whatever.
Exactly. We did bring treats.
I was wondering if that's why people were around you, get the treats.
But I give feedback to one of our team members today. She's amazing, but like she called me. She didn't leave a voicemail, and we need to talk, right? Because I like got in touch with her. I was like, please always leave voicemails, please. I am not going through my recent to see who called me. Like, I go to my voicemail to see who's called me and if they've left you know what I mean? So I think we're just being a lot more direct with our mentoring and coaching, and not missing opportunities, and really just like being really forthright about it.
Yeah. No, this is fun. I've wanted to meet you guys for a long time, and I just love this podcast because I get an opportunity to message you and get this to work out. And it's fun. Yeah, we've never talked before, and it's sort of leading me into this question of who are you? But I think it's funny. I can already start to tell kind of a dynamic where, Sarah, you've been talking so much, and a nice kind of balance between you. So who are you guys?
Sarah's the boss.
Sarah's the boss. Got it.
John's the boss.
Yeah. I think we have a great yin and yang approach to life. Not just in the studio, and just who we are as people, and we embrace that. We live and breathe design. It's with us all day in the studio. It goes home with us. It's on the weekends. It's in the mornings, at nights. So it's as a designer, you can't stop it.
Yeah.
It's a freight train. It just flows, and having somebody in your life that you're spending quality time on the weekends, at night, you can talk about these things, and it doesn't stop. It's refreshing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things I really admire about John, and I think we do have a very yin-yang relationship, and we bob and weave constantly. And I think sometimes it can be to the confusion of our team, kind of like, well, who's in charge of what? And we definitely are principal in charge of different projects, but when it comes to just the firm and marketing and running of the firm, like we definitely have this kind of unspoken understanding of where we each need to step in for each other. But what I really admire about John is, John, you start your day every day really like looking at inspiration, and you're just, you're on the blogs, you are looking at up and coming amazing resorts that are happening, or, just looking at designers. And so that is really inspiring to me, and bringing that into our team. And so I love that. And I think that really works well with what we're doing, and just talking about design and everything we do. Obviously we're running a business, and there's that component to it, but that's what's really neat. In I think the 18 years we've had our firm, people are so much more interested in design, right? Like our clients, it's so much more of a mainstream conversation, right? And it's so much more accessible in some ways. So that passion and that experience of being really relevant with what's happening, being traveled. Our clients really appreciate that and, quite frankly, demand it. They want that.
True.
I'm married to an architect, and we had a firm for a little bit. And it was right when we got married, very young, and sort of marriage and profession by fire. And we sort of got good at designing together. And then we've kind of been working at different firms. And now I just started a firm with another friend. And so I'm trying to figure that all out again of sort of like, what's the lanes? How do the lanes overlap? What's the roles? When did you guys get that dialed in?
Yeah.
How long?
Good question.
Wednesday or? Yeah.
That's a good question. I mean, one thing that we talk about is being a Swiss Army knife. And I think early on, you definitely want to stay in your lane and just focus. But as your career starts, expanding, you become more of a Swiss Army knife. And you can be able to handle a lot more complexity and tension and design. Your range is bigger. So I think it just comes over time. So,
yeah.
But I think if if I were starting over with Sarah again, we'd probably do the same thing. It's like, how do we pivot? How do we cover each other? Who steps in where? And it actually, we don't really have to talk about it that much. It's seamless. It happens.
I think, when we started our careers, we were working for different firms. So we were always working at night and weekends on competitions. And so I think we had been honing that for a long time. And we also went to school together. So it's kind of always been part of our DNA and who we are as a couple and as a partnership. But yeah, I think try different things. And that's what we do. And just reflect. And I think the best thing that we do, and it's advice that we've received over the years, is if something's not working, change pretty quickly. Just make change and don't overthink it and just try it another way.
Yeah.
Keep it all collaborative at all times.
Nice. So all collaborative. So let's get to the backgrounds a little bit. So you went to school together, but where did you guys grow up?
I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and then found my way out to Colorado in the early 90s. And Sarah?
I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and I went to CU, and that's where I met John.
Met in the middle.
Yeah.
So why did each of you choose CU? What did that decision look like?
For me, I kind of always wanted to be an architect, but I've always been really inspired by the outdoors. And so the idea of going to CU Boulder, where I could be, close to both, was something that was really awesome for me. And so I just took that opportunity to do that. And then, being in the climate here after, growing up in the Pacific Northwest, it's really beautiful, that temperate rainforest, and what you get there is unbelievable and great urban planning and things. But I was really interested in going into a different environment, and coming to Colorado is quite different. And so that also was something that really appealed to me.
Why do you always want to be an architect? What does always mean?
Yeah, I grew up, drawing floor plans and just being really spatial, and always through school was very artistic in my endeavors, but also really loved math. And loved that problem solving aspect of, kind of being in higher level math classes. And so when it came time to think about going to college, just kind of really put the two together and just said, wow, this is it. And so.
Did you have an architect in the family or something that you could see, or you?
No, I did have the good fortune of growing up. I grew up in an English tutor house from the 1920s. And so that really actually had a profound effect on me in terms of being in really thoughtful design. It's traditional, but it's very thoughtful. And so that's something you had the opportunity of seeing that house early in our relationship. And so that really stuck with me.
And John, you didn't always want to be an architect? I see you went to business school.
I did have a little stint in business school, but growing up, my favorite subject was art. And I think sophomore year in high school, I stopped doing art and was going to go on to a business track in college. And halfway through that, I was like, I'm not fulfilled by this at all.
Yeah.
And so I notified my parents that I'm moving to Colorado. And they're like, who do you know in Colorado? I was like, I don't know anybody, but I'm moving. And I'd never been. It was some kind of an epiphany that was drawing me out here. And so, growing up, my father's friends, a lot of them were in the business and the construction industry. And so on weekends, spending time on the job site, seeing a house half framed. without any drywall. And I was just blew my mind. I was like, okay, I got to know more about this.
Well, I think you grew up with a father. John's parents were really young when they had him, like 18, so he grew up with them, and you grew up with your father starting a business.
Yeah.
And so you were around in kind of an entrepreneurial spirit as well, which kind of, I think, gave you the confidence, and then gave me the confidence to start our firm.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say that you didn't know what you were doing by doing business first, but those seem like the smartest architects who do get a business degree first and then go into architecture.
Yeah.
So then you guys met at school. What were kind of the big takeaways for you at CU and the kind of people or ideas that were floating around at the time?
I love the program at CU Boulder. It was all encompassing. It was very obviously environmental design. Wasn't really just focusing on, okay, we're going to teach you how to be an architect. It was thinking about everything. So, in fact, Sarah, I think you wanted to be a landscape architect coming out of that program. So there was that flexibility. I wanted to be an urban designer. And my first job out of school was in New York, working for Cooper Robertson, doing master plan work. So I gradually phased myself back into architecture. So
yeah, I agree. I think what I really appreciate about the education that we had in the environmental design program is it really taught us critical thinking and problem solving. And that is something that has really bode us well over the course of our career. And I think given kind of the wide subject matter that you're exposed to, obviously within the structure of design studios was really informative to us.
I used to loathe going to Joe Uhaus's class. I don't know if you recall him, but we read books and watched movies, and we have huge discussions in a huge lecture hall about it. And I was like, oh, this is so pointless. I don't get this. And I totally understand it now where he was coming from. He was extracting your brain in critical thinking.
Yeah, those are the best. So you really sort of have one studio that might be landscape and one that's urbanism and one that's architecture. Is that how it works? You kind of sample all of that within the environmental design program?
Yeah, they're design studios, but then they have, obviously the studio project, and it varies. Some is more urban design focused, depending on which year you're in. But even, Spencer Havelock with, a lot of the environmental
assessments.
Yeah, assessments. So within that, weaving through, it was definitely exposure to a lot of different subject matters, and then bringing it, culminating into studio projects. So, I just think it's a really great program. We're huge advocates of it and supporters of the ENVD program.
So then you graduated, and John, you said, okay, enough of Colorado. Let me try New York.
Actually, Sarah, our internship, I was working for the Stapleton Redevelopment Foundation on the big master planning side of it. And Sarah's working for EDAW, which is now AIA Com. And she had an opportunity to go to Sydney, Australia and work on the Olympic Village. And I went down there as well and worked for the competing firm, because at that time it was still a competition. So that was pretty exciting. And then we found our way to New York. And I think that's where the real growth happened.
Yeah.
It's very demanding to work in New York in any field. And we were working on a normal week was 60 hours a week. And then it went up from that.
Yeah.
You talk about the growth rate of an intern through that experience really catapulted us, and we advanced pretty quick because you didn't really have a choice. It was a sink or swim environment.
Mm-hmm.
Where were you working, Sarah?
I was working for Clement and Halsman, and pretty interesting. Frances Halsman was the first female AIA president in New York City, and a husband and wife team, a 40-person firm, and working on more institutional type projects. And I agree with you, John. I think our experience in New York was exponential in terms of just the exposure and just being in a city like that on a daily basis, and having it be a melting pot, very international, being around colleagues, and, kind of with that breadth was really, really great.
Yeah. That seems like the biggest thing, right? Like just the amount of schools and the amount of architecture firms and the amount of things being built all around you, and just that sort of spark and flame that you get there. It's hard to replicate.
We would go to Columbia University, Cooper Union, like we were going to lectures all the time, and Architecture League of New York. There were a lot of things available. Obviously, you have to be curious and interested to take advantage of it, and we were. So it was really great, and a lot of the relationships that we made in New York and colleagues are still very close to us today.
So then, how long were you there, and what ended it?
Yeah, so we were there 3.5 years.
3.5 years, 4 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then, John really wanted to get back to Colorado. And so we started, researching, and John, you took the lead on that and really, decided that Aspen was a good place to come back to. Aspen's a, very rich community in terms of the culture, obviously nature, the history. There's just a lot of things happening here that makes it not feel like you're coming back to, small town USA.
Yeah, that could be a strong culture shock.
Yeah.
It still was.
Yeah.
It still was. But it's surprising in this town what it offers. You do not feel like you're in a 7,000 person town. It's big.
So what kind of firm did you guys both start working at, and what were you doing?
I started working with Dave Gibson, and it was a 4-person firm. So I was touching everything practically, and working hand in hand with David to, take the vision of the project and implement it into construction drawings. And so that was fascinating. And David, interesting enough, was graduating from Yale. It was Harry Teague, who Sarah worked for. They were friends back in the Yale days. So that was a nice little connection.
So he recommended that I talk to Harry. So I worked with Harry Teague for 3 years. And that was amazing. We had an awesome working relationship. And I had never worked on houses. And so, and that was something I was actually really interested in doing. So got the opportunity to work on and project manage with Harry a couple really great houses that were very innovative and for great families.
How big was his firm when you were there?
It was like 10 people. It was actually big at that time.
Huh.
Yeah.
I'm interviewing him on Monday.
Oh, he's great. Tell him hi. Yeah, tell him hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the sort of architectural community like then? Like when was that in the...
It was 2000.
2000. Okay.
21 years ago.
So it's a lot of the same firms, kind of like CCY and Cunif.
Mm-hmm. But modernism hadn't really fully stepped into Aspen yet.
It had in the 50s and the 60s, and then it kind of went away.
Right. But Harry was like, full on modernist. Studio B was doing their thing, but that was about it.
Yeah.
But now everybody's embraced it. I mean, there's still a lot of great traditional work being done here, but when we first got here, that was predominantly all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And John, so had you kept doing sort of urban design in New York and then made a strong switch when you moved to Aspen, or was it a sort of gradual shift in New York?
Yeah, it was gradual. While I was still in New York, I was working on a house up in Bedford, New York. Very interesting home, more Adirondack style. So that was a nice transition to coming out here for sure.
And then did you work for POS? Did I see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
After 9/11, things out slowed down everywhere. And then Dave Gibson, his work dried up a bit. So I went over to POS's office for a year. So that was great. And POS had a pretty big office. I can't remember how big it was at the time. It was over 20.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Yeah.
So then what was that final moment where you're like, okay, let's do this. Let's start the firm.
Yeah, I mean, it was really 9/11. After that happened, John said he had to transition to another firm to keep working. I had been cut hours at Teague's. And so it just seemed like a good time to start a firm. So you were still working and I was starting the firm. And John would work on it in the evening and on the weekends. And so that was 2003 when we started. And it just started from our kitchen table. We were living in a condo and started in 2003. And then in 2004, things started really coming back economically. And, it was really hard to get commercial space. We obviously wanted to keep overhead low. That time in Aspen, it was hard to get people to help us. And so we started our Denver studio in 2004. So we've really had parallel Aspen Denver studios for the whole time of our firm.
Wow.
So we bought a live-work loft space in the Silver Square Lofts on 34th and Blake. So we live-worked and we had 3 employees, and John and I would drive down on Sunday or Monday, and we'd come back on Fridays, and we would work in Denver for the week with the team, and we'd come back to Aspen, and we did that for several years.
Huh. That's really interesting. So, and most of your projects were in Aspen or in the mountains. It was just hard to get those employees. And
yeah, I think, we run a pretty rigorous studio. We love people who are curious and interested like us and have a lot of passion. And we were able to find that, I think, more in Denver at that time.
And also it gave us another foot in the urban environment, which, we had lost leaving New York. So that was refreshing. Really great. And just having access to the design center and just colleagues in Denver, the dialogue that's happening. It was, I think to us, it was really great to have. Yeah. It is and still is, obviously.
Yeah. That seems nice, that balance you guys have. What was the first project? What did that look like?
We were living in our condo, and it was, at the time, not even a good friend. He's since become like a brother from another mother. He's one of our best friends. But he hired us to do his condo.
Huh.
And so we did a condo remodel. And then we really did quite a few condo remodels the first couple of years.
Huh.
And so our big thing was build a portfolio. And we really believed that would show, really what we could do. And so we started kind of doing it, and others followed. And then, we got our first, kind of house like in 2004, kind of at the same time we were doing condos, and just kind of kept building in terms of scale and complexity. And that's been good. I think we run our firm that we focus on what we have right now, and we're very present in what we're doing. And so I think that has been nice for us. And it's something that we coach our team, and just, kind of don't fret about tomorrow or think about tomorrow. It's like, let's focus on today and do today really well.
Huh. That's some good perspective. Such ups and downs. And you can never project.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can easily get lost in like, okay, I got to go and find the next project. While you have all these other projects. But if you don't do a great job on those projects that you have right there, that's your best marketing that you can do. New projects will come.
Huh.
So.
Yeah, we actually just did this business. We did this graphic for our team. We have 4 new owners of our company, which is really exciting.
Wow.
And we had 4 people, purchase shares of the company this spring, which we're really excited about. And it's kind of one of the most rewarding things so far for us in our firm. And so we're coaching, business development. And so, one of the best things with business development is just, like John said, like project manage really well. And it just shortens that loop, right? Because then it becomes referral and repeat business. And it's the best thing you can do.
That's good to know. My partner is like a real perfectionist, and I'll be like, let's get it done faster. Let's find another project or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, we got to do this one right.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
It's good. That sounds like you guys have a good yin yang, and that's good. Don't lose that. I think John and I have that, and, we'll be like, we got to bake this. Like, we're really into editing, and that iterative editing process takes time. And I think the longer you've been at it, the more you'll have more confidence in saying that to clients and saying, no, this is the time it takes to do this well. And what we're doing has such a lasting impact, and there's so much embodied energy in it that clients and patrons, they should want that process. And I think it was interesting in some of the conversations that were happening this week at the AIA conference. What I was taking is a lot of our urban environments are reactive, right? I think we all get really reactive. And so it's like stopping, but you got to do this fast as an entrepreneur and as a business owner. So you can't take a long time to do this, but you have to stop, evaluate what's going on, and be like, what's the best kind of long-term solution or decision we're going to be making right now? And it's really easy, especially in the times we've just had, to be reactive. And so we really work on balancing being proactive and reactive. And it's very conscious.
I think Jared talked about this in the seminars, like, for any major motor company, they work for years on the prototype.
Yeah.
And then it goes to the assembly line. It's like, we're building the prototype and that's it.
Yeah.
So you got to do it right. There's no scrapping that and starting over.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting, that idea of the prototype, where you get to kind of project 10 years down the road of what you want cars to look like, right? And get people excited for that.
Yeah.
And with architecture, you get your one chance and then you hopefully move on. And
right. Well, and I thought, I was even talking to, one of our team members today just about, again, we're going back to being reactive. Like our whole industry is quite reactive. Architects are less so than engineers, but we're so reliant on contractors, and we're only as good as the bricklayer, really, at the end of the day, right? So it's how do we bring them along and really take these things that we're learning in conferences or articles we're reading, discussions we're having with colleagues, and how do we kind of all the boats rise together. And so that is something I'm very keenly interested in, and something that we talk a lot about, and we talk about it as a team. How do we sprinkle this stuff out to a broader audience and to the people even outside of architecture world, because we need everyone thinking along these lines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like that idea of shortening the loop, right? Of getting better educated clients. And
I think it goes back to sharing, where we kind of started this conversation, and just being open and willing to share. And nothing should be proprietary, really. It really should be about, there's so much that we need to be doing right now that it can be overwhelming, right? And so the more we can just kind of be throwing it out there, see what sticks at the wall, and just see whatever nugget of stuff that we've just learned or what we can learn from someone else, you just never know where it's going to go.
Yeah. What's been the most sort of successful vehicle for sharing information for you guys lately? What does that look like?
Probably one-on-one engagements with our colleagues.
Someone like Chad Oppenheim, he's a friend. He lived here during the pandemic, and we spent quite a bit of time with him, and like hiking the bowl and skiing, and like literally we talk shop the whole time. And just talk about design, talk about running a firm, and those kind of engagements I think are really powerful. And
and especially with him, I mean, he's got an office in Switzerland, right, and New York and Miami, and when you're able to touch all those places at once, and
but we're all doing the same stuff. And they even talked about that this week. It's like let's not talk about how we're different, but like how we're actually the same. And like we're all running for, we're all trying to tackle the same issues. So again, if we can be joined and share, it's really fantastic. And we're collaborating with Perkins and Will right now on a project in Denver. And for us, we're a 40-person firm, and for us to be working with 1,000+ person firm of their experience is awesome. And we tap into it all the time. I met with their principal of sustainability a month ago with our sustainability committee within our firm. And I'm like, what can we learn from you? What are the things that you would, tell us to do? What are the most important things? And so I think being open and asking a lot of questions, and, we really made a conscious decision multiple years ago. And it's really, part of the ethos of our firm is, we want team members and clients and colleagues that mentor us as much as we mentor them. And we really approach every relationship with that. And so that was really opening.
Yeah.
Just that conscious decision. Yeah. What does your idea of community look like? It's interesting, again, bridging between Denver and Aspen and that idea of sharing. Sort of a broad question, but how do you take it?
Probably that common thread is the art community. We're definitely really active with a lot of different institutions here in Aspen and in Denver. And that clientele that we really aspire to work with are all engaged in that community too, which is great. So as far as one of those things that we really targeted a long time ago, we're like, our clients who really get us are patrons of art.
Yeah.
I think also we're very involved with historic preservation, and that's something that's really important to us. We own historic buildings and run our studios out of historic buildings above Aspen and Denver. And so the idea of stewardship and legacy is something that really drives us as owners and as human beings. We really try to lead by example. We really don't look at what we're doing as just us. We really are thinking about what's it going to be in 100 years, and what's our footprint, and what's our legacy. And not from an ego perspective, but more how do we leave it better?
what's been a project that really sums up all those ideas, or where you guys just nailed it? What did that look like?
From a historic standpoint, maybe the building we're in right now, the Mesa building, it was on the market for 7 years and nobody wanted to touch it.
Really?
It started seeing a lot of deferred maintenance. It was our favorite building when we first drove into town. We were like, whoa, look at that beautiful building. And it's, turn of the century storefront building, 2 stories, which is rare. They're usually 1 story. And it's got a covered porch that comes all the way out to the street.
Balloon framing.
So that was really exciting to get into that, take it down to its studs, and give it its new life for its next 150 years.
But I think also we love the business side of it, and financing of this project was very challenging. And it took us 6 months. We had it in our contract just to figure out how we could do the project. And so engaging and creating a lot next door, doing a lot split, and the value of that lot that we created became collateral for our loan. And then, it's even in the last year, we just got historic tax credits for the work we did. So it's been a really full circle in terms of what we've had to do, and kind of pulling on, I think, every background we have in order to figure it out. It wasn't simple.
And is that part of your firm as well, of sort of trying to develop your own projects and own projects? And
we've always had one project in the studio going on. That's for us. We've designed the building next door on the lot. I'm pointing at it because you can see the window right now. And that's fun. And we're selling it right now. And so then we'll do the project, or we might decide to build it ourselves. So there's always a project going on. It's great because we get to experiment on ourselves. Our Denver studio is another 1890 building on 18th and Blake. We bought that like 8 years ago. And we are moving in 2 weeks. The top floor, our studio is on the ground floor at storefront level. And the upper floor is a salon space. That's also where we live when we come to Denver. And it's really fun. So it's really wide open, art gallery, place for discussions. And so we're moving in 2 weeks, and we're really, really excited about that. Nice. And just having a building, downtown in Lodo is just an honor and exciting. And how do we give back to the street? And, we're very involved in Denver Downtown Partnership. And so immediately when we moved, we had a tenant downstairs for a couple of years, but then we moved our studio downstairs, and we immediately really put effort into our window displays. And how do we have an outward face of an architecture firm, and just got excited about that. How do we animate the street, and again engage whoever's walking by in the discussion of design?
Yeah, I like that. It has a nice presence to it there on the street, and it's such a great street there.
It's evolved a lot.
Yeah. Do you get many people just walking in?
We do, actually.
Yeah.
We do get people walking in. Hopefully that'll come back more, right? Because people want to come in, and hopefully we're there, and people are coming back to the studio. I think people really want to be together.
Nice. So if I go and just come on in, it's not going to be too weird. All right.
Come have a coffee, hang out.
We'll give you the tour.
Yeah.
Good. You might just have me like sitting at a desk for a while and
please do.
Have to kick me out.
Good idea.
Yeah. We have it in both of our studios. It's fun. People just pop in.
Oh, nice. Cool. All right. What about a ground up project that really kind of summed up maybe your design theories or ideas or experience? Or
I
would say Meadowhouse.
Meadowhouse
encompasses, not only architecture, site planning, interior design, landscape, collaborating with the client, and art curating,
and artists,
and other artists that we worked with. So that was all encompassing, where we were kind of
we were
doing everything.
We have a convergent practice, and that's very important to us. And so when we get the opportunity to do that, it really takes our philosophy and our passion to a whole nother level in terms of what we're delivering. We call it jamming with other band members. We love collaborating with other colleagues and things, but there are those special moments when we can take on and really integrate a lot of our design thinking with the right client, and it's amazing. Talk about those aha moments. It's really great. and just taking in, we typically, like I was mentioning, Milan, in non-COVID years, we go slow day every year, and just seeing things in that house, and like, oh my gosh, we saw that year, and just pulling that in. We collaborated with the Haas brothers on a 2-sided marble fireplace.
Yeah.
We went to Lisbon and saw it getting carved, and I met with them at their LA studio. And I've since taken 2 classes at Anderson Ranch from Simon Haas. I took an amazing class this summer on Procreate with him. And so just seeing how it just makes us just wider, like broader. It's really awesome.
Yeah. I saw that fireplace. That looked sweet.
It's sweet.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Was that CNC'd, or is it all?
It's carved. It's hand carved.
Hand carved.
Their technique that the people that were doing it in Lisbon is the same technique that has been around for centuries.
So we went to, the studio where it was getting carved, and there were like, Madonnas, right?
like classical pieces everywhere.
Yeah, hilarious. And then there's like a couple Haas brother pieces. It was so wild. Wow.
Yeah. You're like, do you think you can do a fireplace? And they're like, yeah, I think we can do a fireplace.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's neat to see that art form. I mean, gosh, we were in Rome 2 weekends ago, and we went to the Villa Borghese. We'd never been there. We've been to Rome several times. And just walking through that museum and just being up and close and personal. That's what's cool about traveling right now, actually, with things less crowded, and just being up against Bernini, sculptures. And it just totally
takes your breath away.
And then you immediately, it infuses you and it manifests itself into your work.
That's nice to be able to take that time. I feel like I'm so rushed with everything, and I'm taking the kids here and there, and I'm trying to do this and this, and to be able to step back and get that inspiration.
Yeah, I think we've always been really inspired by art, and we always make a point of, we have to be in California next week, and we're going to Stanford and going to the Anderson Art Museum in the Cantor. Like, we're taking an afternoon and going to SF MoMA, and we actually haven't seen the Snowetta edition yet. And just, like planning it in and just going, this is stuff that we're super interested in seeing.
Yeah. My wife and I just won a AIA travel scholarship, and we're going to Norway. And all we're doing is we're studying 9 Snøhetta buildings. And so we're just doing a Snøhetta tour, going up to the Reindeer Pavilion and the Under restaurant, and just hitting all that.
Congratulations.
We need to get out.
I cannot wait to hear about this.
Yeah.
When are you going?
Probably next summer. So we need to wait till we can line up the best grandma babysitters. But yeah, I'm planning to make that into kind of a mini podcast series and doing that.
I can't wait.
Meeting in their office.
We have not been in Norway. I'm really dying, so I definitely would love to get your notes.
Nice. If you had to choose any of those moments, do you have a mountaintop moment that really just stands out of the best time in your practice?
We're very much forward thinking and, forward looking. And so we have to actually be pointed about looking in the rearview mirror. So it's kind of always the next project we're working on, or the project we're working on right now. But I would say, being honored with Colorado Firm of the Year last year was really a highlight.
Very humbling.
Very humbling. And, I remember getting the phone call, and I was like on a photo shoot with a couple colleagues, and, we were in August, and COVID was a few months in, and, the craziness that was going on with that. And, I was blown away. I was almost speechless. I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. And I looked at someone I was with. I was like, this has been really hard.
It was the lift that needed to happen.
It was the lift that we needed. It was
nice.
Just, everything had just, been hard for everybody. And just whenever you're recognized by your peers is really humbling, like John was saying. And I think, and then it motivates you, right? So it's like, okay, wow.
What's next?
Yeah, what's next?
And how can we continue to elevate and continue to excel? And it's very motivating.
Yeah, I remember it must have been maybe 3 or 4 years ago at an AIA conference, and you guys took home a ton of awards, a bunch of projects. And I saw you guys afterwards, and it was like, that looks fun. That's where I want to be. It was like celebrating, like drinks flowing, your team around you. And it was like, that looks nice.
Yeah, it's fun. And, and just what we talk a lot about as a firm and we talk a lot about as professionals is this is the type of career that just you keep building. And so it's really important to just hold on to what you've just learned when you've completed a project and take the next one even further. And that's really exciting. And we have really, really great projects that we're working on right now that are doing that. And, I've loved the conversation about R&D. And it's something that we're really making sure that we plan into our work plans, because it's easy to kind of just like keep plowing through and just make sure we're like, okay, what's the thing we want to be innovative on this project? What's the thing we can push here? How do we get the collective voices involved? Because everyone has something to contribute. And so, like you said, it's almost that pause and kind of planning in. Like right now, we've kind of planned in a little bit of a pause with us. It's what we've learned, having gone through a couple of economic cycles, is it's really easy to kind of get carried away when the faucet's on full blast. And so we're really trying to like drink one glass at a time and just, plan in a pause, plan in that thoughtfulness. And we feel we're better leaders. Our other leaders are better. We all are operating.
The work's better.
The work is better.
Our team appreciates that and they feel appreciated by that as well.
Yeah. So we're making some pretty conscious decisions right now in terms of our now and our future of our firm.
Well, and that has to be so hard. I mean, you said you're at 40 people. That's a big firm. And it's like that thing, that kind of size bigger than medium and not quite huge, but it's a lot of people to be managing and paying.
Yeah, it is. And it's something we go to bed with every night and we have for, kind of many years. And it's just kind of part of who we are. But I think, what's really driving us right now is just really excellent design and making sure, and we always say it's kind of one of the most sustainable things you can do is just create great, lasting, timeless architecture, because ultimately there's embodied energy in building materials in anything you do. So make sure it's good.
Yeah.
And contributes to our communities. It kind of goes back to what does community mean to you? And community is our fabric. We have such a responsibility and an opportunity to contribute and make sure that it is moving forward in a positive way. It's so fascinating. Like the market force on architects is constantly trying to push us into a commodity space.
Yeah.
Right? So it's hard to kind of be that successful, really thoughtful, excellent design architect. A lot of times it's pushing you to either kind of be in academia, right? Or have a really theory-based firm, or you're kind of in the more commodity space. And so we're kind of like in between,
it's a challenge. But, going back to, running a 40-person firm, we can't take all the credit. We have an amazing team and it's hands on deck. Everybody's with us all the time. We got a great middle-level management team that's, takes a lot of burden off of us so we can focus on design and business development. So
it's been really cool to see the leadership development, and we lean in really hard on it. We get leadership coaches, we read, we share articles, we actively talk about it. I think what's pretty unique about our firm is we have equal female-male representation at every level of our firm. And that's really rare in the architecture world. And so that's something we haven't even been that conscious about it because we kind of don't even think about it, right? It's like, you rise up here and there's a lot of opportunity. Just, come in and bring your passion and your dedication to design and being with people, right? And being a good manager, and you'll excel.
Yeah. It's so hard, like you're saying, to be thoughtful and get paid for it. And that idea of going further towards academia or being able to run a firm. And I really appreciate that about you guys, of being good business people and architects, and here in Denver and in Aspen. And it's just been fun to meet you and talk with you. And thanks for continuing to make good architecture. So
thank you for inviting us and creating the sharing.
You're part of it.
Yeah. You're speaking my language with the sharing. I love just hearing stories and getting good advice. So thanks, guys.
Vice versa. Thank you.
Thanks,
Adam.
You can visit architecting.com, that's architect-ing.com, to see images from this week's guest.
And please rate and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts.
Have a great week and keep connecting.
It tells you a lot when you get a client that wants to be transactional.
It's a good point, John. Really good point.
So we're quickly identifying those people, in the interview process, who they might be. And,
yeah.
So, and I think that's okay to say no, even though you might need that project, but there's a project behind it somewhere that hasn't popped up yet. You'll probably be happier with. So it's a bit of a gamble.
Yeah. And that's what, it seems nice. Obviously you guys have such a great body of work that the clients and like this sort of art, connections and things, like your type of clients can find you now, but that idea of trying to, I guess, identify who you are as a firm, and then try to find the clients that you match with, is kind of where we're at, of like, how does that work? But
yeah, it sounds like you're doing well with it. I think at the beginning of COVID, we actually leaned in really hard with our SEO, and it's something we hadn't really done before. And hired an SEO company, and because we were like, we really want to make sure that because no one knew what was going on at the beginning of COVID, right? And we wanted to make sure that we were like really expanding into other markets. And I listened to actually Business of Architecture podcast, which I actually listened to a lot. I really enjoyed that one.
Nice.
And I listened to this guy. He was like, oh my God, what was the best things I did for my company? Like it made me national, and we like being national, and we want to do work, in other places, and we are. And so that's been interesting. But what's interesting with the SEO is we're getting a lot of inquiries kind of constantly. And so we're really having to practice kind of what you're saying right now. What is the right fit? What is the thing that this may seem like a good idea or something that can fill time right now, but in 6 months, is this going to be one of these log jams? They're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So, there's
some of these projects or potential clients have a really small scope, and you just gotta it's not about the scope, it's about the client. Yeah. And that's what you're, and then it could be like the coolest project ever, a huge house, whatever it might be, but you got to sniff out that client, because that might be a nightmare. Yeah. So
I think
and this small projects sometimes roll into bigger stuff.
Yeah. So I love that, John. It's really about the client, God, I don't know if you read Art Gensler's book, and he's just badass, right? And I mean, he has a certain kind of firm, right? But he, as a business owner and someone who developed this, there's a lot to learn from him. And
he wants all his clients to keep coming back to him. They don't do any marketing.
He perfected being basically like a trusted advisor to clients. To the point where clients would not do things without engaging Gensler. And Perkins and Will is the same way, Adam. They are fucking badass, man. It's insane. And they have the type of clients they have clients that will not buy real estate without engaging with them in that process.
So do you have a lot of that? Is it a little different with residential clients of return clients? I mean, obviously people can build multiple homes or
yeah, we have 60% repeat clients is our percentage. And we really lean in on being people's trusted advisors. And I think it goes back to sharing, like you're saying. In order to be someone's trusted advisor, you have got to be open. You've got to be, transparent in who you are as a professional, as a human, because then that builds trust.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing, I think most cool clients that we have found, they are actually really interested in you running a company and starting a company. And they want to give advice. And they want to be on that journey with you. It's really it's fun for us. We've now had hundreds of clients, and I think each one of our clients feels like they helped build us.
They discovered us.
They each feel like they discovered us, and in a really cute, nice way. It's
and we let them.
Yeah, that's fine. Sure. Yeah. You paid for this computer. You paid for whatever.
Absolutely. Exactly. And it's like making them feel like they're the most important people, and just, and.
Well, that's part of our, one of our core values, beyond accolades, awards, publications, client satisfaction is number one. Like a client that invites us to dinner or recommends us or like sends us holiday gifts years after the project. That means more than getting another award.
That seems like such a balance of still having high design, but pleasing a client, right? It's really easy, and you see a lot of firms that go with their clients' wishes and ends up being bad projects. But you're kind of saying like when you're pushing those clients and you give them something better, and then they understand that. But
yeah.
And again, it goes back to being selective with your clients, and making sure that they want to be pushed.
Yeah.
And we'll be really upfront with clients. We'll say, we've never done this before. Are you into this journey? And, 9 times out of 10, it's how you deliver that. Like, give them the confidence that, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, I think it goes back to that transparency, and most clients, I think I think at the end of the day, people want passion. Right? And they want to work with people who are like just as passionate about their project as they are about their project. And like, I joke around with clients all the time. I'll say this, I'm like, this is really keeping me up at night. And they love that when I say that, right? I'm like, oh my God, I've been up at night thinking about this aspect of your project. And like, I kind of say it tongue in cheek, and they love it because they're like, oh my God, you're that invested. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's true. You guys just go home on the weekends and just talk about the projects. And
we're good about, separating it too, but like, we are really consumed about it. Like John was mentioning Meadow House. We took clients there, 2 days ago, and, she'd been in our house since November. And I'm like, how's it going? And she's like, there's a few things I need follow up with the contractor. Our job's done. I fucking send a list to, like later that day to the contractor with a few follow-up things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's service.
Yeah.
And that's what clients really appreciate. And it's like, it doesn't end. And that 5 minutes of my time bought a lifetime of a client. And so it's really interesting. Like, so we have a Monday morning meeting. So this Monday we're teaching effective and successful communication. And we have this 4 points of accountability that we have. We have a project in the middle, and like you have to balance client, you have to balance design, you have to balance deliverables, you have to balance accounting, project management. And only if you balance all 4 of those things do you have a successful project. And so it's a graphic that we've developed. So we're developing another graphic for Monday about successful communication, because you have email, you have filing, you have texting, you have the phone, and you have, even taking, like, let's say you're working in Miro or virtual whiteboard or Procore, you have to download those every so often. So so it's only if you balance all those things that you actually have successful communication. And so we're coaching this because we're not all together, right? And so, and when to use which outlet of communication. And so that is something. And then the following week, we're actually doing a whole thing on service and what it means to be a service. We're the waiter, right? So like when you go to a restaurant, you don't ask for the menu. You don't ask where your food is. If you are, you have shitty fucking service, right? And so we're no different. Part of our job is to anticipate and to make sure that our person sitting at the table feels really comfortable. And so if you look at it that way, and because everyone has been in that experience before.
And then it just goes back to what John was saying of just do a good job and the next job will come. Yeah, right? Like you're hitting it on all those things. And then,
And then sometimes you have to make that decision where it's like, okay, I'm losing my shirt on this project, but boy, is that going to photograph well? It's going to get awards or however you want to market it. And, in marketing, takes on its own life.
Or like restaurants. Like restaurants are not money makers, right? But our team loves working on them. Yeah. And we love working on them. So we always try to have a restaurant or two going on because they're fun, and then you can actually go there, after it's done, or so it's balancing then those kind of things and like what are the things you want to work on versus, there's a lot that goes into it. I think ultimately at the end of the day, it's following your heart and just make sure you don't work for assholes. Make sure you work for people that appreciate. We all make that mistake. We have an asshole right now. I mean, you always have a couple assholes.
Yeah.
And so, but you want to have less assholes. You only want to have a few, and like I said, just do a really good job and say what you're going to do. The other thing we've had to learn when you do have those clients that you are interested in taking it for whatever reason, but you are on kind of a limited fee, then just be really deliberate about where you're going to push things and then don't push other things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just go, okay, 80% of this we've done before. We have a detail for that. I'm not saying regurgitate shit, but if you have a foundation detail, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We got it. Now 20% here, this is where this thing's going to sing. And this is where we're going to really put the energy because we have limited. So we've got to be really pointed about where we're spending the time.
Yeah. Huh. I know it's so hard to be like, especially when you're early on being like, I have to make everything the best thing that's ever been designed, and I'm never going to get another project. And this has to be the greatest.
And you will. Yeah, and you are, and that's why you are who you are, but
don't let it eat you inside, but just.
I think
it's motivation for sure.
I also think you get to a point like where you do enough of that and you just start kind of getting a little fucking pissed.
Yeah.
Then you're just like, fuck you. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I'm giving so much life to your project and
you don't value it.
Yeah.
And so, you know what? And so then you get to that point where there's better fits out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying like, we've worked plenty of projects where it's kind of someone that we believe in and we want to give them like a deal or because we believe in what they're doing and we want to help them.
Well, it's like, yeah, if they're not assholes and they need it and it checks those boxes and
and they're going to talk to other people or and stuff like that. But it's a journey and we're constantly evolving and we're very different, like I said today, than we were a year ago and
last month. Like we just keep growing and getting better and sharper
and reading and talking to colleagues and even email. Like email sucks, right? Email is like this like stupid like huge thing that's in our lives, right? And like how to manage it. And I'm talking a lot with like our internal team about it because I'm suggesting to them, I go, you guys, I talk to colleagues about email. Like how do you manage it? Because we're all dealing with email, but it's a reality of what we have going on. You can't ignore it.
Yeah.
So you have to come up with parameters and systems that allow you to actually use it as a tool and not let it overtake you.
Yeah.
Because it's not an option to not read your emails.
Have you figured that out?
Yeah, I mean, I set parameters for myself. Yeah, for sure. And they change, and then I've shared it, with others because I'm seeing a trend right now of people just not reading emails. I just think they're overwhelmed by it. And you read articles about, especially the Gen Z generation, that emails are almost an invasion of private, they find like, it's just not, and this is what's prompting actually what we're doing at Monday morning meeting, because I'm even finding internally some of our team members are just not like, and like, I hate to say I'm their boss, like reply to a fucking email that I sent, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
come on.
Like a week will go by and I'll be like, I asked you to file that. I just filed it myself. Like, did you get my email? Yeah. So, just stuff like that and just, working in the world where, and then just, again, just coming up with those systems. I listened to a really good podcast on NPR on Sunday about, we just started every other Friday off with our team. And so the whole podcast is about a 4-day work week and how to get there.
What's it called?
Oh God, I forget the name of it. It was on NPR.
I still have it in my email. We'll forward it to you.
Yeah, and good. I don't have it. So
I got it in my email. So I can find it.
It's in his email. Right. As opposed to an instant message, which you can never find again. So, but anyway, it's about focus time, right? So like I immediately in Monday morning meeting was like, hey guys, I'm really encouraging everyone to reflect on when is your best focus time? Because basically what the book is saying is like you, on average, you have like 4 hours of really good focus time a day. And so really figure out when that is and don't have meetings during that time. Actually use that for what you need it for. And so we gave agency to our team on Monday to be like, reflect on it, figure out when your best focus time is, talk to your internal teams and shuffle shit around.
Yeah.
So you're not getting interrupted.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so easy. Just like I can just be answering emails all day. And lately I've been trying to like, okay, I turn it off for at an hour or 2 hours, whatever it is. But, yeah.
But you know what's amazing? When you're in meetings, like we're often in meetings all day and not really on email, so much of that shit just kind of works itself out.
Like I think it's okay to get see the emails coming through and be like, if there's something hot, you got to deal with it, but like just flag it. You'll get to it later on that afternoon. I think a lot of people like, oh, I can't have anything in my inbox. That's hard.
So like for me, like I set a number and I said, I've been talking about this a lot this week because I've been trying to collect people on good email management because I'm like, you got to fucking read your email. So, like for me, I just set a number. Like I have a threshold on my inbox that I try to stay within. And then it's kind of a game for me. And I'm not OCD about it. I'm like still going to bed at night, but I'm like, you know what, if it's getting above like 500, I try to stick to 500 emails in my inbox, right? Yeah. And if it's getting above that, then I'm like, I need to file. I need to like spend a little management time on this. And so, but if I'm within that 500, I'm feeling good. Or like, don't start on Monday with unread emails. Like, just don't. It's just bad because then you're already starting behind. Or don't go 24 hours without having, only go 24 hours without having any unread emails. So I've been like coaching, creating some parameters or some goals around it that are manageable, but that, because, it's just like picking up your house. Like if you just like let it go, then it can just be overwhelming and then you'll never do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Adam, thanks. Have a great weekend and congrats on that travel
that's huge.
fellowship. That's amazing.
Yeah, thanks.
Norway.
Yeah. We'll have to hang out in real life sometime.
For sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
I want to do some like a Aspen party or something sometime. Get all the Aspen firms together. I'm gonna start interviewing more of mountain architects. So yeah. Awesome, guys.
All right. Well, thanks,
Adam.
See ya.
You too. Bye.
Bye.